great time to kind of actually discuss this because not everybody has access to every hero like I do. And I don't actually technically have the end yet because there's even more past this. But if you're wondering, like, yeah, this is Sonya Gatot. A lot of you probably picked up on this. You woke up and saw the Lucky Rainbow pack, and then you probably asked yourself, is this actually any good? You know, if I buy this, am I going to regret this decision? My answer to that is, if you've ever heard of King Shot, I recommend you take a look at King Shot real fast, because you'll notice that it is just like this guy. Now, I'm not the one to be, like, super pushy about new games and new titles, but I do get kind of pushy when it seems like they're very, like, maybe too similar. To the point where you kind of look at it like Rise of Kingdoms, right? If you guys have paid any amount of attention to different games, if you haven't, that's fine. But what I tend to find is that when things are changing for different games or different games are being made, it doesn't mean that the game that you're playing is going to get bad, but it does mean that a lot of the development for newer features or different major changes may not be necessarily in this game. And so I don't know. I, for one, whenever I look at, like, you know, the Rainbow Purchase Pack or any of the other stuff, it's kind of like when I see all the people griping about the fact that, you know, I had a video, I was like, oh yeah, I have like X amount of time, money, and energy spent in the game, and everybody just lost their minds over that because they're like, what? And what do you mean you spent that much? And it's like, you know, a lot of that is, yeah, on paper, almost nobody in their right mind would probably do that. But what I'm telling you is, and I've told this to them in the same scope, is it's not uncommon. And they look at that like, well, the hell it ain't. And it's like, well, yeah, but you also have to kind of, one person's trash is another person's oyster of time, energy, and time spent. And I just know the crowd, and I know the crowd well enough to know that there's a far larger number of people that have like, how do you say, the people that play these games don't typically have, they're not like running, how do you say, they're not broke. I mean, it's like I've met a lot of people that play these games that have very high disposable income, and that's part of the reason why you don't really hear about it, is because obviously nobody's going to go around, you know, bouncing up and down saying, hey, I'm wealthy. Like, like, what the hell do you think this is, my friends? Like, that's not how this works. But naturally, we've got like Canyon Clash coming up, so I'll obviously be able to kind of dip in onto that. I haven't really gotten too far into this. Now, you might notice that, you know, hey, you got 68 mythic shards. You're going to get some loot. And if you've been doing what I've been doing and have been preaching up and down for like the longest time, you'll probably guess that I have 170 of these shards. And if you think I'm going to burn 68 of these for 980 points, you're sleeping on the fact that I will never do that. I will never do that. Now, I say this because I am of the opinion that while, yes, I can do it, and yes, the Alliance will get benefits and points, the cost that you gain from actually doing it doesn't equate what you actually want. Like, you're better off, you know, like even at 30, I'm not going to do that. Like, this, however, at 3,600 for any speed up, okay, that's reasonable. Okay, and doing troops, that is reasonable. These are what I would consider to be okay, I will go ahead and do it type expenses on the end of points, and because you're gonna do it anyway, so you might as well do it. But when you're talking hero shards, I get very iffy about doing that. And the reason for that is because you need to have an idea of what heroes you're going to get. So I thought today would be a really great time to kind of actually discuss this, because not everybody has access to every hero like I do. And I don't actually technically have the end yet, because there's even more past this. But if you're wondering, like, yeah, this is Sonya Gatot, and then there's Hendrik. If you're wondering what do I get at this phase, you always want the highest tier, okay? That's a given. But when you're starting out and you're just starting to play Whiteout Survival, here's my 2 cents, okay? Do not make the mistake of trying to rush max all of your starter like SSR heroes. Okay, so that is to say, unless you just happen to have like $5,000 or $6,000, do not bother trying to max out Geronimo. It's not going to happen unless you're just spending money like crazy, because to get to VIP 12 is not like that's in order to get him maxed out, you got to get VIP 12, and you can look up, Google it, whatever. But it's not it's a lot of money to get there in a very short period of time. So do not bother. I mean, obviously, yeah, you can get them like 3-star ish, and you're gonna have an advantage. But I'm just telling you, late game, it's not really gonna matter. Zen Man might be the only like hero in that starting mix that makes the most sense to buy, just because you get construction boosts and such. And then Molly, you don't even dare put mythic shards in her. You'll get her pretty easy right out of the gate. The only one I wouldn't bother with would be Natalia. Okay, Natalia is the one you can skip. All right, now in your Gen 2 realm, which is your Philly, your Alonzo, and your Flint, yeah, you go for Flint first, then you go for Alonzo, and then you do Philly last. The only reason I say this is it used to be that her skill was better than it is now. Now that they changed the damn skill, I don't like Philly at all. So when you go into season 3, then you go for Mia only. You don't, because what you basically end up doing is saying, okay, the Lancer sucks. I'm going to replace that with Molly, and go from Molly to Millie. Basically you're going to use Molly until you get to where you're season 3, and then you go to Mia. Okay, is how I did it. All right, and then once you've done that and you're in season 3, then you'll get closer and closer to season 4. And when you get to season 4, that's where you're going to go out and grab Lynn. And then you're also going to do yourself a favor, and you're going to start saving the shards that you're going to need to get to season 5 and get Hector. When you get Hector, then what you do is then you'll want to bounce over and work on your Lancers again and get Renee. And then when you get to season 7, then you want to get Bradley. Okay, that, in my opinion, that is the trajectory you should go in order of importance. Now, it's not to say that you can't try and grab like Greg, for example, and you can try to work him up, but that is how I prioritized it. Now, I am going to tell you, I didn't bother with Reyna. I didn't bother with Nora. I know that they're out there, but I didn't bother. Okay, and in season 4, I didn't bother with Homos. I didn't bother with Logan. I didn't bother with Gwen. Now, I will say that going into season 7, I kind of slept on this one. And I slept on season 6 a lot and season 8 a lot. But if I had done anything, I would have more than likely gotten Wayne in season 6. And then I would have easily gotten Gordon in season 7. And by season 8, I'm now going to want to get Gatad. Okay, because what you gain in these stats here is worthwhile in the long term, in my opinion. And the fact that if you can max it out and core it out, it's going to be way, way worth it. But again, the general rule of thumb is if you can afford it, then yeah, get the highest tier of the newest generation possible, because they're statistically better than every generation before it by a long shot. So you don't waste a whole lot of headache and time and energy trying to focus on whether or not they have, like, yes, there is one element of this, which is their exclusive. That's the other selling point that's expensive, but just keep that in mind and you'll be fine. Needless to say, guys, that is everything I suggest when it comes to picking out heroes in Whiteout Survival. I know I didn't cover all of them up past 10, but, hey, it's close enough. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.